All right, everybody, welcome to Tuesday. What's the day today? August 10th. Oh, I should remember that because today is my 1 year bubble anniversary. So we're celebrating this evening my 1 year anniversary of having learned about and bubble. And I actually signed up
Rats.
to I signed up for my first bubble account and got started 1 year ago today. A couple weeks later, I got serious about it to actually start learning it. And here we are 1 year later, and I'm super excited for it. Learning bubble has changed my life and countless others of people in our group and elsewhere. I've seen how it's just had this amazing transformative experience for people, power for people. So welcome to CoCreative NoCode's office hours episode. We're going to start counting our episodes. Kim, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
I went back and I counted all of the office hours that we have had. Now, not all of them are recorded, but almost all of them since we started doing daily office hours have been recorded. And daily office hours, today is our 57th daily
That's
office
amazing.
hour. And before that, we were doing office hours twice a week for several weeks, and then once a week before even that. And if you go back all the way to the beginning, today is our 81st episode.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So if this is your first time joining us on office hours, watching live on Facebook, or perhaps you're watching the replay on YouTube, and I think we're going to start maybe tweeting some YouTube links or something like that as well. If this is your first time catching office hours, we do this every single day of the week, Monday through Friday. On Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10 a.m. Pacific time, on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And what office hours is we invite our members of CoCreative NoCode.com to come on to a live Zoom and bring us all of their bubble bugs, all of their bubble questions, any kind of bubble thing that they are wanting to create, to build. You can bring all of that into office hours, and we might not have the answer, but we will do our darndest to get you an answer, and you will never suffer alone. And we do manage to answer most of the questions. I will say, I think if I was to go back and calculate it, like watch all of the footage or whatever, I think we do roughly 80%, maybe 85% get an answer on here. And then the others, we just commiserate and kind of, chalk it up to we're still learning. We're still all learning bubble. So if you would like to join us for a complimentary CoCreative NoCode office hours experience, you can go ahead and comment on the live video, and Kim will send you a link and you can join us on Zoom for a free session. And if you're not interested in joining on the free session, you could always say hello. If you're watching us live, go ahead and say hi in the comments and ask any sort of questions you might have, or tell us what's going on in your bubble world, and we'd be happy to discuss it here as well. So let's see here. Thomas isn't here yet. I'm kind of missing Thomas at the moment.
Yeah, he
So,
said he's coming in a bit.
yeah. Oh, Nathan. It looks like Nathan might come. Have you messaged Nathan before, Kim?
Never. I don't think so.
No, Nathan Meyer. Okay, I will message him real fast. He's asking if we're doing office hours tonight. Yes.
Yes, why yes, we are.
I can't even type on my regular keyboard anymore. I have to use the special one. It's so annoying.
What's a special keyboard?
So the special keyboard I got was the Expos, which is it's curved to be more natural for your fingers to reach all of the keys.
Oh.
And it also has a special fun LED light thing happening. But mostly I got it for the curved keys. But it took me 2 whole months to learn how to type on it and get to pretty much as fast as I was on a regular keyboard. The problem is at the same time as I learned this keyboard, I unlearned all of the other keyboards that I've ever worked on in my life. So I'm pretty sure now it would take me another 2 months to switch back. And that would not be good. That would be
What's it called?
It's called Expos. Here, I'll go.
Expose?
Yeah, I'll expose. Here, I'll go to the site for you. Hey, Thomas, welcome.
Hola.
Expose. Yeah.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. So this is what my keyboard looks like.
Whoa.
And it's fun.
Holy.
Yeah. It's a little different. My space, I have two different space bars, and then I use the shift on the at the bottom, like right here. I use that all the time.
I
Almost,
see how it's natural.
yeah. I do the enter button. I think I still use my pinky over here. I don't use this one, and I don't use this as the backspace, but I use this shift button all the time. So yeah.
What
What?
what were you guys talking about that led to this?
Oh, because I had to type a message to someone and I was typing it on my regular keyboard. So I run two computers to run office hours.
Yeah.
I run my PC to do the Zoom because I'm broadcasting live to Facebook and recording for YouTube. And then I have my Chromebook, which I use for everything else. The only reason I have a PC is to broadcast office hours. So yeah. Kim, if you wouldn't mind finding Nathan Meyer and making sure he has the link to come on in.
Okay.
I would appreciate it. He's a premium member. So awesome. Thomas, how have you been?
Good. So I ended up reaching out via email to the guys that made the free reverse repeating group.
Okay.
They didn't want to pay the zero code money.
Gotcha.
And I want to show you because
I will stop sharing so you can show.
Cool.
By the way, Thomas, we are celebrating my 1 year bubbleversary. 1 year ago today, I learned of the existence of bubble.io. And
it's amazing.
Marking the occasion. Yes, exactly.
That's what you're doing right now.
Well, that's what Callum and I actually hopped on a Zoom earlier. We were co-bubbling to mark the occasion.
Oh,
so it was really fun. Yeah.
It's awesome. Imagine where your skills will be 5 years from now.
I know. It's crazy.
Like crazy to think about.
It is crazy to think about. Yeah. We're getting ready to sign a 2-year lease. We bought a house before, so I guess I can't say that like we've never been so committed, but like buying your own house and signing a lease for 2 years is two different things. Like the lease almost feels like,
No, go ahead. I was going to let you finish here.
No, just because you were talking about thinking about 5 years ahead, I was thinking about like, what is my life even going to be like in 2 years? I have no idea. My life is so different this year than it was last year. Right. And everyone can say that, right? 2 years ago, everyone's life was different because of COVID, right?
Exactly. So, I was definitely a different person in general.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let me show you this.
Yeah.
Quickly.
So for those of you who have not been watching our amazing progression with this messenger that we built, we basically decided to replicate the messenger experience in the Facebook feed. You know how like if you're on a desktop and you're scrolling your feed, your messenger messages, you can have up to 3 of them on the screen at the same time. And then you can keep scrolling as you're chatting. And so we basically created the same thing. So
I still haven't figured this out here, but I know for a fact that it's this element here.
Yeah.
Notice how it shows here, but when I still have to figure that out and I haven't had a chance. So
no worries.
If you notice that the timestamps here, it is the repeating group works. I had the guy actually come into the guys that made the plugin editor, the makers. He actually went into the app and like did it for me.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Nice of him, because I was asking him if he had any guides or any instructions, and he was like, "Yeah, we don't." So I will show you the logic. This is reversed already. So, 43, 48, everything this works perfectly. I can't get it to do from right to left though, as I was talking about with you yesterday. So I'll show you what's going on in the reverse repeating group. So it looks like to get this to work, you have to actually put it in the repeating group.
Okay.
The RG reverse A. So this is the logic here. I don't quite understand it. I know that these kind of work like attributes, like repeating groups ID is in reference to the actual repeating group. So here,
Okay.
repeating groups ID is RG underscore current cells threads unique ID. And then I've actually assigned the ID attribute here on this repeating group, RG parents groups thread. So that is.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Okay. I kind of get that.
Yeah. So, and then what's happening with here, the group cells ID, I'm actually calling the group containing the name and the message. And it is cell groups threads messengers, which is the actual group threads unique ID. So that's how things are connected.
Okay.
I
That is
don't
much more complicated than zero codes.
right.
Yeah.
I'm
I guess there's there's a tax on our like ignorance.
yeah.
So
I had asked him,
yeah.
like, hey man, do you have maybe a guide for this? He's like, I know it'd be useful, but no. We don't. We haven't. No, we haven't had it yet. I was thinking about.
we just made it and we just put it out there, but there's no guide on how to use it.
I was thinking about
But
once I figured it out, just kind of leaving a review and having a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is how you do it. Because I'm sure other people would like to use a free plugin.
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would do that, and then I would leave. Yeah, like you said, like leave the link to your guide on how to do it in your review.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, it was nice of them to go in there and make it work for you,
Really nice.
or at least
I
make that part work.
I had asked him, how can I get that to work? I had asked him if that would work in the same on the actual repeating group.
Mm-hmm.
It's being like that reverse repeating group element. Everything is working within this repeating group,
Mm-hmm.
containing the messages and then the individual groups within.
Right.
I haven't figured out, and it's probably because I haven't really thought enough on it, how to do that here and whether or not it would even work.
Yeah, it just worked out of the box using zero codes
Yeah.
plugin.
I guess I'll bug those guys again if I can't figure it out.
Yeah, bug them again and say, hey, I'm gonna keep bugging you until you make a tutorial on how to use this.
Yeah.
So,
But
bless
yeah,
you, whoever sneezed.
pretty much that. And then what is the next goal? Can't think of anything
Welcome,
else.
Nathan.
Hi guys,
How's it going?
I'm good, thanks.
Good. Did you have a question this evening?
I do. I've got a situation at some point, but I'm also just trying to listen in.
Okay, very cool. And we're celebrating today. This is like the 5th time I'm repeating it. This is my 1-year bubble anniversary, Nathan.
Oh wow. Oh yeah, 8/10. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it just me or can like Nathan not be heard?
Oh, it's very soft. I can hear him, but maybe Nathan, I don't know if you can like speak up or get closer to the mic or something. But all right. Well, what should we do this evening?
Well, I can throw out my question if you
Yeah, let's do it.
like.
You want to share your screen?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So Can you see that?
I can.
Okay, so I've got, so I'm trying to piece together all the miscellaneous things that you've been helping me with, and the ideas of structuring the site. So I've got a search that happens in this header. So it's a reusable. And then within the search, so you helped me with this keyword and we fixed that a day or two ago. The idea of keyword search, and then two other, these are all things, data types, so category and asset type. And what I want to be able to do is take all three of these separate things, hit search, and then send all three of these different things to the search results page. So
Okay.
I haven't really done much with the search result page. I understand, I think, how to search or build the repeating group around the data source and using all three of those. But what I'm not sure about is how do I send these three individual elements to the page so that I can then access it from this search results page in this data source?
Sure. So the answer is URL parameters. And so what you'll do is, so first, the three things that you're going to be filtering the repeating group data source with, are they just text or are they actual things in the database?
So it's three different things. So this keyword is text. This category is a data thing, and then this asset type is a option set.
Okay, so then what you'll do, I'm not sure about the option set, but we can figure that out as we get there. So when you navigate to the other page, so go to the workflow where you're navigating to the search results page.
So from the search results, or from the search, or the search results?
From the page where you're doing the search.
Okay.
Or is the navigation workflow in the reusable? It's probably in the reusable, huh?
It is in the reusable, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so go ahead and click on the reusable and then edit the element.
I'm here now. So this,
okay, so you're in the reusable.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so then go to the workflow on the search button. Yep, so go to page search results, so click in that. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna check the box where it says send more parameters to the page. And so add another parameter. You're gonna need 3, but you can do them one at a time. The first one is gonna be that the keyword, I would just call it KW for short.
Okay.
And then you're gonna make that the value of the search box. There you go. And then add another parameter. And then the second thing is, I think you said category. So I'd probably call it cat for short. And then you do, yeah, the drop down choose categories value. I would do unique ID.
Why is that?
Because it's, you're going to be able to grab that as a thing from the database using the unique ID.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And then add another parameter and go ahead and
asset type.
Yep. And then get an option. And then get an option. Oh, actually, no, I guess take that out. And
Can
then
I
just
select the drop down since I'm
Yeah,
doing that through the
exactly.
drop down? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just wondering if we can like value, and it's gonna say Okay. Because you said that's an option set, right?
It is, yes.
I don't think option sets like it seems to be treating it like a thing. Because it's got a unique ID.
So here's the option set.
And then they're just selecting one of those. I
Yep.
would have expected it to ask me for the display. So go to that drop down. The asset type, yep. And then asset
Oh,
type deleted.
yeah.
Oh, it used to be, okay, so yeah,
Yeah.
you have to select the,
I didn't change it here. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so
current options display.
okay.
Okay. Yep, and so go back to that workflow. And then where it says no, yeah, display, I think will work. Okay. And so now we can go to the, search results page to the repeating group. And then you can do your search.
So do a search for.
Yep, do a search for. What
Assets.
are you? Okay. And then let's try just doing the constraints on this because they can't refine it from here, can they?
No.
Okay, so
I would build in a filter, but that's after the search. It would
Okay.
just change the view.
okay, so let's add a new constraint. And the first constraint will be any field contains, and then the get an option. And then the option set, not an option, I'm sorry, it wasn't get an option, just delete that. Yeah. It's not get an option, it's get data from URL. If you just click the delete button from there, that's fine. You're
Okay.
good. Okay, so any field contains, and then just start typing get, G-E-T, get data from page URL. And the parameter name, we called the first one, what do we call it? Keyword KW?
Yeah, KW.
Yep. And then keyword is text. So go ahead and leave that
Okay.
and then close. And then just click out of there. I think it should be fine. Yep. And then add a new constraint. And then asset type or category. We could go in order if you wanted. It doesn't matter. Category is going to equal get data from page URL at the bottom, very bottom.
Okay.
And then did we call it cat,
Yeah,
CAT?
cat.
Yep. And then now change the type of that. So click back in there and change that to category.
Okay, so what are we doing here? So
we're setting the type of the parameters. So now it knows that it's getting a unique ID and it's going to find the category with that unique ID.
okay.
Yep. So that's why we set it as the category unique ID. So click out of there. It should be fine. Yep.
Okay.
And then new constraint asset type equals get an option. This is the one I'm not sure about. So get an option and then option set asset type and then option all options. Let's just try it and then close that. And then here we want to filter, see if it'll let you filter. Filtered. And now add a new constraint, get from the URL. Parameter name is AT. Text, okay.
It's
Just
text.
yeah, go ahead and leave it as text and close it. Is this asset type OS at the very top? Display.
Oh, good Lord.
There we go. I think that will work. I'm hopeful. It's very like that. Using option sets to filter can be tricky, but I think that's the expression. So, and we're all in blue. So filtered and then first option. So first item.
Right.
Yeah.
So all asset types. So we're pulling all of them.
Yep. And then we're filtering that by getting
Once we have
the
all
URL.
of them, we're looking
we're
at the
making
one
sh-
from the URL.
Yep. And comparing that to this asset type's display. So this asset type is referring to the asset that's in the cell of the repeating group.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Do you have enough sample data to try it out?
Yeah, there's some in there. I don't know that I have one of all three of those, but I'm sure we can figure it out.
Okay. Yep. Oh, one other thing, in the repeating group, we need to check to ignore empty constraints.
Where do you do that?
So in the search for assets, so click into the search from the data source.
The search. Oh, okay.
Yep. And then click at the bottom, ignore empty constraints. There you go.
Okay.
Because I'm assuming it's optional for them to choose a category.
Right, it would be all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if any of those URL parameters are empty, then that way it won't give them false results.
I'm checking to make sure I have everything set up in here. Yeah, okay. All right, well, I suppose let's see what's going on. Let me actually look and see what data I have in here. Let me just start with that. All right, well.
All right, so we don't have, well, are we sure we have something that should be showing up now?
Yeah, so I searched for Liberty Bell 7 in the name, and I
Okay.
searched for artifact asset type. So I think there should be two.
Oh, no. So, okay. So that's something about the searches is that it's going to be exclusive. So
Oh, it has to be both?
It has to be both, right?
Is there a way to make it or instead of and?
You can, but it's you can, but it's tricky. And generally we don't. So if we're going to do and, then we would say in your data source.
Let me just see if I could get anything to pull up real quick. Oh, it's there.
Yep.
It's just not closing. Okay.
Yep. Okay. So if you wanted to get both of those things, then you can go back into the repeating group data source.
Okay, back into the repeating group, search results, data source.
Yep. And what we would do is we would do search for assets, and then we would delete the second two, the category and the asset type.
Okay. I'll just let you walk me through it if you don't mind, and then I think I'll do it the way we have it now.
Okay.
Because I've got to show my boss tomorrow morning, so I don't want to.
Sure. Okay, just leave it now. I gotcha. Okay. So what you would do is you would delete the second two here.
Okay.
And then you would uncheck the ignore empty constraints.
Okay.
And then you would go back to the data source and click more and click merged with.
Okay.
And just type merge so you can see it. Right? So you do merge with, and then you do another search constrained by the second constraint.
Okay.
And then you would merge it with the third one. And then you would, at the end of that, you would say unique elements. And so what that's going to do, it's going to do 3 separate searches. It's going to return results for 3 separate searches, and it's going to put them all together in one long list. And then you're going to put the unique elements, so it'll only show once for each item that's represented.
So I assume that's processor. If we end up with thousands of records or whatever, we're running basically the search 3 different times for every search.
I think, yeah, but I think it should be fine. I mean, you can test and see if it's super slow or anything, but I think it should be okay.
Is there one of my questions also was, is there a plugin, or I ran across the Algolia or
yeah, so the Algolia plugin is amazing. It's super fast, but what people complain about is it's expensive. I recently saw, Thomas, were you there when I found one that was like, it was like an open source one or something? I saw it in a group advertised recently. It was like an open source, it was a free version of basically what Algolia does. And cool. I forget the name of it, but it was advertised in one of the like Facebook groups for Bubble. So
that was actually one of the things I was going to ask Eli, was like, is there any other possible workarounds for that? Because it is expensive, especially if you're, not running a profitable business.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not running a profitable business, then it's probably not expensive. It's when you are running, like when people are actively using your app and running a lot of searches is when it gets expensive.
Gotcha.
So, like the costs start to be like more when you have lots of people running searches. So, but it is super fast. But I still think you'd end up having to do your search this way. Right? Like you'd still have to do a search and merge it.
What is that service? Like what part of that is that service doing? So the third party services, Airtable, and I just don't know enough about them, but at what point would that service kick in? Is the data stored there? What's the service?
The service is they index your database, and then you run the search on Algolia and not on your database, and then they tell you which results to return. So
when you're making changes, you're still making changes to the Bubble database, but it's just getting indexed. Duplicated, I suppose, or indexed in the other place as well.
Yep, exactly. So, yeah, and I mean, and I have a client. I can have a client app, and they have Algolia search, and it's amazing how fast it is compared to Bubble's own search.
Is there, so cost, I realize that's a thing, but is there a certain point, obviously as a startup, and then we have 100 records and 1,000 records and then 10,000 records potentially. But at what point does a service like that really start to make sense? Money aside, from a performance standpoint, is it how many users you have, or how big your like how many asset records there are that it has to search through? At what
I
point
think
does it matter?
I'm actually on the site now. If you want to stop sharing, I'll share my screen and we can
bet.
look at their pricing. And it's so free forever, up to 10,000 records. So that would be like a deal breaker for my clients, right?
And that's 10,000, like in my case, assets.
Yeah, so 10,000 records that you have indexed.
Got
right?
it. Okay.
And then so you 10,000 search requests per month and 10,000 recommend requests per month, whatever a recommend request is. So that's all for free. And then from there, it's $1 per 1,000 requests per month plus 1,000 records. So here we have, I guess that's not as bad, but so 50,000 requests per month. And then this recommend thing, whatever the recommend thing is, $60 per month. And they probably have, I mean, I assume you work for a nonprofit. Is that right?
We do.
Yeah, so you'd probably qualify for some discounts as well.
So what, like, I don't even know how you would estimate. So users is, of course, is a thing, and that's fairly easy to track, but like this, I wonder how would you even go into estimating what that would look like? And it's not something we would consider right now, as the startup portion, but how would you even guess, like with your clients, how do you even have that conversation with them to say, how would you quote, being able to use this service, number of users times, let's say every user is going to search 5 times, and then you come up with just an estimated guess?
So for them, it wasn't really a matter of trying to estimate how much it is. It was the central core feature of their app was the search. Right. So like to them, it was like they didn't have an app without a really fast, accurate search that could, because for them, they're selling collectible car parts like memorabilia and antique and like super fancy car parts, and they're helping their sellers sell those. So when the user lands on the site, the first thing they're doing is searching for a car part.
Right.
And they're searching across hundreds of thousands of records. So they definitely need to be like super fast and to be able to actually find what they're looking for.
Right.
So to them, it's a cost of doing business.
Sure.
For you, it would be a little bit different because technically you could run the search, but just might be a little bit slower. But it might, like at what point does it make sense to invest in a faster search? Well, it depends. Do you have some kind of revenue tied to the searches? In their case, they had revenue directly tied to the searches, right? If you don't have revenue that you can directly track and tie to the searches on your site, it might not make sense.
Right.
So.
And so obviously still building from scratch or from the start, but 6 months, a year from now, if you make those decisions on something like this or some other service, not overly complicated to create a new search without bringing the site down for any period of time or anything like that. I mean,
right.
So it's just, you're building basically a duplicate or a new search, and then you would just kill one and launch the other. Is that how that would look? Yeah. Okay.
Yep. You would just, whatever you're doing, you would make your changes on your development or another branch of your app. And then from there, you would test it and make sure it's ready to go. And then you would deploy live and your users wouldn't know the difference.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
I've got one other question now that we've been talking about this. So
sure.
We were talking about the filtering and how data would come back and forth, but once the data comes into here, into this repeating group, that
Here, I'm
so
going to stop sharing so you can share
oh,
again.
right. I was pointing and everything. So once the data comes into this repeating group, whether it's from the third-party service or just an internal search, do the filters and I just haven't researched this enough, but the like the drop down, the sort bys, or the filters from within here, how does that work with this source?
So the constraints that you're sending, oh, that's one of the reasons why I did constraints on the search rather than doing filters, as the constraints that you're doing are actually faster than filters. And the reason is because you're getting you have to get fewer records back from Bubble's server to the user's browser.
Okay.
And then filtering from there, like, because you made it faster by filtering down to only the records you were interested in to start with, then filtering from there should be faster.
So where would you, let's just say sort. Where would I add, now that I have the results and I want to sort by, name or date or, some of the other fields that we would have, I assume that would be a drop down that says sort by, and you could select one of the options. How do you apply the results of that drop down to this data set?
Sure.
In the repeating group?
Yep. And the answer is at the end of all of your searches to get the ORs that you're looking for. At the end of that, you would, from the data source, at the end of that, you would do filtered, and then you would add constraints, further constraints.
So this search for assets plus the merge with those three, however, whichever way I decide to go, that is getting the data initially.
Right. And then you can filter it out using filtered by.
Filtered by whatever is showing in this drop down or checkboxes or however you would do that.
Yep.
So the search for assets part, though, that's where all the processing power is coming. It's getting the data set first.
Yeah, it's getting the data from Bubble servers. So Bubble is going to return a certain number of assets based on the constraints. And Bubble search on their server is very fast, right? So the time that it's taking to get the return back will be faster because they're doing that search and then they're only returning what matches that search on their servers back to you.
Okay.
Yep.
So in this, I'll call it an equation, but in this step right here, the search for assets gets the data, and then whatever actions, in this case, filtering, I guess, filter.
It's down towards the bottom. Filtered.
Yeah, so
yep.
Filtered or sorted or any of these that you would use here is only, it's after the search.
It's after you get after you get the results from the search.
Got it. Okay. So I guess that would make sense. The unique items, it's looking at the three different searches, and then of those, it's only pulling the unique items. So
exactly.
That makes sense. Wow. Good. Okay. God, how do you learn all this stuff? I mean, I truly feel blessed to have run across you, because I would spend literally days, and bottles of alcohol trying to figure out this stuff, but you can figure it out in 15 minutes, and it's definitely a blessing to have those conversations with you.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad to be of help. And I was just telling Thomas, this is I think our 81st episode, if you want to call it an episode of Office Hours. So yeah, wow. Just even I learned a ton from everyone on the calls, and just getting into Bubble every day for a year. Yeah. So.
Okay. Well, I think I've got some building to do now, but I mean, that was my question.
Okay.
So
awesome.
Questions, I suppose. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, no
very
worries.
much.
Yep. Thomas, did you have anything else? Have you been playing around with the reverse repeating group?
No.
No. You're eating? Okay, good. Eating's important. You need fuel.
Yeah. Did you have anything in mind? Or
Nope, I don't have anything in mind. We need to do some more brainstorming about like what maybe we will ask Eli.
Yep.
Callum said that having him set up backend lists in an app would not be interesting enough. He was like, boring.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm like, I don't think
mean-
that's boring.
If we could like build out an app, that'd be great. Like just all hands in.
Build an app in an
Sure.
hour.
Well,
Okay.
at least one functionality, like perhaps like a group containing a specific function.
I want to figure out a prototype that we want him to build, like something that we think like,
Super sprint.
yeah, something cool that we could like, well, kind of like the messenger feature. Like I thought that was really cool. The first one and the second one, both of those were cool. So, I'm trying to think back through some of the apps that I've seen Eli's handiwork in. One of the coolest ones, he had an SVG that he made, SVG image that he made interactive.
Oh yeah.
But that's not, that wasn't just using Bubble, that was also using like code. But he did it in a Bubble app, so it counts, right?
I wonder if he knows any workarounds for rendering images to be more responsive. Because that's definitely something that I think most people deal with. It's pretty limited with things. Even Crappie is pretty limited.
Yeah. I'm not
Searching
sure.
is limited, and what else is limited? Yeah, messaging too.
So-
I agree with Juan. Messaging should be something that should be readily available, but you can't ask too much.
Tonya, what's
better-
air? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, man. I was
Oh,
gonna make a
I'm
joke.
just gonna say what's like AirDev's philosophy on using third-party plugins? Are there like obviously I would assume the ones created by Bubble probably have a little bit more credibility, but all of the third-party plugins that are out there, so a company like AirDev that has some controls put in place, are there third-party plugins, or what's their philosophy on things like that? I don't use them enough, but unless a lot of people are using them, to me it seems like you're just rolling the dice of whether it's going to get supported or last long, or I mean, reputable companies I suppose make sense, but I'm just curious to see what a real developer or a development company thinks about that.
Yeah, so I would say the rule of thumb is as few as possible. And then although just having them around doesn't really cost you anything, right? Because if you're not using it, it's not loading it from what I understand. But as few as possible, then the second thing would be from reputable developers of plugins. So Bubble obviously counts as that. Then I would say generally, I hate the documentation on most of them, right? But like including AirDevs. But AirDev is one, Zero Code would be one that I would trust. BDK, so Gaurav Jain's, I would trust his plugins. Then you look at, like you're talking about, popularity, and then look at the reviews, right? So not just how many people have it installed, but like, is it getting good reviews, and then look at the responses to the reviews to see how responsive the plugin author is. Also, you can reach out to the plugin author. A lot of them are responsive, and you can just say, hey, I'm going to try your plugin and see if you get a response.
Right.
That can make a big difference, is how responsive they are. Paid plugins, I would probably, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, right? It's like, you're like, well, I trust it more because it's paid, because I think they're motivated to like answer people and support their plugin, but also you're paying for it. So you're kind of like rolling the dice, especially if you do like the one time, which is non-refundable.
Right.
let's see. Oh, I think we have somebody with a question. I'll get to you in just a moment. Thanks, Kim. And then if you want to try a paid plugin, office hours is a great place to come in and do that, because I have an agency plan. I can, any of my sandbox, they're on agency plan. I can try the paid plugins for free. So like if you're interested in one and you want to see if it works and how it works and if we can get it working on office hours, that's one of the things we do here.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yep.
Yeah, that's good to know. Great.
Yeah, so
All right.
that's,
Well, thanks. Just curious.
yeah. And I often plugins are amazing. And also AirDev builds custom plugins as well. So
Oh, okay.
like for our clients, if our client needs I have one right now, we're doing a charting plugin. They want their users to be able to create custom charts in the app. And that's not something that Bubble is very strong about doing. So we found a JavaScript library just for creating charts. And we're creating a custom plugin to allow that to happen for our client. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
They're gonna be available.
Nope. Mm-mm.
Oh,
Nope. It's not something that we would make available like publicly. Yeah. We'll let our client use it as many times as the client wants to. And then the client also has to pay to have the plugin integrated with their regular dev as well. So, but yeah. Yep. But even just the license for that JavaScript library is like $2,500. That's not including the development of the plugin, right? So yeah, but yeah, it's yeah, that's the, I would say that's the philosophy of plugin. We're constantly in AirDev talking to each other about like, hey, has anybody tried this plugin? Did it work? Is it reliable? And kind of getting feedback on it, because we do run into times when we need it a lot. Like one of my favorite ones that I found recently, I can show you is, and I will be with you in just a moment, Rico. Here, let's do August. At a client, so have you ever noticed, actually, try, I think it was maybe in the July sandbox that we did it. When you're using the horizontal repeating group for scrolling, so like we were doing a nested where we have a repeating group that's vertical and then a nested repeating group that's horizontal, and we wanted to be able to scroll. And so I preview this. So if I want to scroll here, I can use my mouse to do it, like the roller. I have a horizontal scroll on my mouse. Or I can do this, but my vertical scroll doesn't work on it, right? And so I had a client, the client was like not happy and just felt like the horizontal scroll was clunky. And so what we have here is, I think on another office hour, we talked about how to hide the scroll bars in general. And this one is just click and drag.
Wow.
Which is a lot nicer than having to find that vertical or that horizontal scroll to move it. So, and what I did when I was like researching this plugin to use with our client at AirDev, is I went and I searched in our Slack for the name of the plugin I was considering, and I found immediately where someone else had already implemented it and was talking about it. And so I was like, okay, so this is already in use in one of our apps, right? So, yep.
That would be a good, I mean, what you said right there at the end is just having examples of plugins like in use, not just the demo or but being able to see how somebody, if somebody's actually taken projects, live with, it would be interesting to see in this case, sites that are using it, so you can see if it's really what you wanted. I always try to find that the plugin pages and then the demos are helpful to a point, but sometimes it doesn't really show me what I'm actually trying to, my use case, or, it'd be good to see more than one example of it. And that would be an interesting resource to be able to see examples of plugins that are in use.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
that's neat.
agree. It's helpful. All right.
Yeah.
So Rico, that is not off topic for a office hours question. It is completely on topic. What size should I use when creating an iOS app? And to be excited here, let's do this. Let's do a page in August and just call it iOS. And Bubble actually has preset page width, and you can say mobile, right? And then if you build in here in this frame here, you will have a mobile, sort of like a mobile sized app page, right? And you can make it longer however you want to. Then the key here, so if I make this blue and then I preview it, so this is what it looks like on a desktop screen. But if I go to inspect, I can say, I want to look at what is it going to look like on an iPhone 10? And they tell you, like at the top, it's 375 by 812. This is an iPhone 10 screen, like replica, right? So like, this is obviously bigger than an iPhone 10 screen would be in real life, but what it's doing is it's showing how it would render. And so you can check on different like screens, like how it would work out, like what it's going to look like. So, and then of course you can always change it up here. If you just make this responsive, you can check any resolution that you want. Another person to ask that question, I could tag him because I saw that you had posted in the group, Rico, is Callum. His app, When Life, is all mobile. The whole thing is mobile. So he knows quite a bit about making sure that things look good on different screens. But for your iOS app, I worked in an app last fall, and it is in the iOS store. So it did get approved. And I think we were operating off of 380 as our width. I hope that answered your question. You can ask a follow-up if you want. So, yeah. Anything else, Thomas, Nathan?
I mean, I'm good for today. I
Good
can
for
keep going, but
we can always keep going, right?
right.
Awesome. Well, I think I'm trying to decide if I'm going to pull another all-nighter for this scope.
What? You pull all-nighters?
I pulled 3 of them in the last week. I'm so tired. Yeah, I have a lot to do in general, and this one app is like went off the rails and is taking up a lot more time.
One-nighters, huh? That's AirDev life right there.
Yeah, that's right. It's like, yeah. Well, I'm like a week, tomorrow makes a week late on something, and I'm like, I feel bad.
Man.
So
Well, I hope you get some rest.
thank you. I guess I've just decided I'm gonna do this, so I need to order some more energy drinks.
Jesus, girl. Take care of yourself.
Yep.
Drink a lot of water.
Lots of water. Okay. Well, I want to thank both of you, Nathan and Thomas, and then also Kim, for being here this evening. Thank you also for Rico for asking your question. Hopefully you'll be able to join us for a complimentary session for CoCreative NoCode's office hours soon. By the way, if you are watching this live or in the replay and you are considering taking us up on the offer of a complimentary Zoom session, I would highly recommend you choose to do so this Friday when we will have Eli Beachy as our special guest. And Eli is, he's considered our internal tech support at AirDev. And we ask him all of the hard questions, and he will be here to answer your questions on Friday. And then we'll figure out some kind of prototype build along on the fly that we can do with him. So thank you again, everybody, for being here. And we'll be back here tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific time. All right,
Thanks,
guys.
Tonya.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you.